nonprofit, and our goal is to try to get people as involved in voting, in registering voters, in learning about issues, understanding civics, understanding the government, and knowing where to go to research candidates. We encourage people to vote by registering at every other farmer's market. We go all over. We've been going to the Lantern House. I'm going to YCC next week, trying to get everyone in the arena out there the right to vote, because they do have the right. So that's our mission in life. If you want more information about us, there's a pamphlet right over there. There's also aren't registered to vote. There's a paper here. If you know anyone who is not registered to vote and needs to, take this QR code, give it to them, and they can register promptly online. And as long as they get it done by the 25th, they will get a mail-in ballot. So if you know anyone, take it to them and have them do that. These cards are Vote 411. This is Vote 411. Vote 411 is an informational source for you to go to see what candidates had to say. If you put in vote411.org, put your address in, it will pull up the candidates that will appear on your ballot. And then we've asked them some questions throughout the nation, and you can see the answers that they've given. Some people choose not to answer, so I choose not to vote for them. All of your people that are, well, Jim's not here yet, but yeah, all of those guys have answered. So it tells you a little bit about their backgrounds. And a hint, don't just go down and vote for judges. Go to JPEC, JPEC. Is that right, Angela? JPEC. Well, you're supposed to know this. And they have ratings on your judges. And for the first time in my life last time, I voted no for a person. Because I'm just so used to go, oh. So do a little research when the ballot gets there if you don't already have it. And you're welcome to pick up one of those as well. Okay, how the game is played. Jim is coming. He had the honor of presenting an award to a general, or I don't know, somebody up there at the base. That was a prestigious award, so he can be excused for that, for bloody sake. So he'll be here. Everybody gets 2 minutes to start. To tell a little bit about yourself, where you came from, what you're doing, etc. Then questions will be asked. If you have any questions, give them to Lori. Grab a card and just write down anything you want an answer to. You get a minute and a half to answer the questions. And then at the end, 2 minutes to wrap up. Okay, everybody got that? We all okay? Watch Marie right here. We do not have paddles anymore. We have a real timer. So when she turns it around, it'll show you as it's going down the rabbit hole there. Okay, let's start with Steve. We also vacillate who we start with. Steve, you have 2 minutes. Tell us all about yourself.
Thank you. Oh, mic.
It's up. Mic's up.
My name is Stephen Wagner. I'm running for Weber County Commissioner. I'm as we're coming towards the end of the campaign trail, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for not only this event, but all the events they put on this entire campaign cycle. I'd also like to acknowledge that it's been an honor to be here, to be with all of you, to learn about Jim. He's my opponent, but I've come to understand and realize that he used to motocross, and I still motocross, and so we have some commonality there, and I appreciate that. I'd also like to thank my opponent to my right here, Brian. He's a hard-working guy, and I'll tell you what, if you're not voting for me, vote for Brian. Now, who am I? Who am I, and why am I here tonight? My name is, again, Steve L. Wagner, runner for Weber County Commissioner, and I'm rolling up my sleeves to work hard and stand with the working families of Weber County. I was reminded here this week that I often approach things all head and not enough heart. But the word of the last couple days has been sincerity. And what I've realized, growing up as on a farm, a small, working up on a small farm, is you learn that the job might end, but the work never ends. And that's prepared me for Weber County Commissioner, because the jobs might end, but the work will never end. I've served my country as a Marine. I've given back to my community here locally the last 16 years as a soccer coach. I do my best to give where I live. All of you that know me know that I show up. I step up, I stand up, and I voice forward the concerns of the community. And sometimes I do that at the risk of my own advancement, but the community is worth it. Thank you, everybody, for being together.
All right, my name is Brian Rowley. I got into politics a few years ago when I laid off all my employees, and I couldn't sleep. I didn't trust what the government was doing, and I wanted to be a part of it. At the time, I was a Republican, and I realized I didn't side with the Republican Party anymore. And no offense to Stephen over here, I didn't side with the Democrats either, so I joined the Libertarian Party. I have spent most of my life in service in one way or another. When I was 21, I joined the Army. I spent 6 years working on Apache helicopters, one of those years in Afghanistan. When I came home, I went out to Nebraska to work as an electrician for a little while, and settled down into restaurants, which is where the unfortunateness of 2020 happened. What I realized, and the reason I decided that I wanted to be an official, had less to do with what the government did and more to do with the way I felt about what I was doing to my employees, because I didn't have a choice. And it killed me, and I realized in my heart that if I can care that much for the 55 people that I laid off, that I could transfer that to give that much care, devotion, and love to as many people as will allow me to represent them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, question number 1, we'll start with Brian. What do you see the role of a county commissioner to be, and how is it different from a city council person?
Well, in a lot of ways, it's kind of the same as the city council person, other than there's less votes to be cast and a lot more people relying on what happens. The county commissioner decides budgets, something that I'm extremely experienced at deciding budgets, but good at following them and coming up with ways to cut back on them. Outside of that, a county commissioner, I think, needs to be a voice for the county, which, as I've seen and heard recently, county commissioners have not been a voice for the county. The county commissioners make a decision and let the cards lie where they lay, instead of taking accountability for it. And I think that county commissioners should, whether or not they do, they should be working with state officials. They should be working with all the independent services within the county and taking care of everybody. And any county commissioner who says it's not a full-time job is robbing our county.
Okay, Steve, remember, eat your microphone.
She told you to eat it.
I forgot to turn it on. Okay, the county commissioner is a combined role, right? And so a county commissioner for the 15 cities and the greater area, we act as a commissioner. However, when we are operating on behalf of the 7 towns, towns and the unincorporated areas of Weber County. We're acting as a city council person, and we're also working as the mayor of those areas. Now, the county commission it's a unique role here in Weber County. We combine the executive and the legislative functions, and so not only are we passing the budgets and the zoning and the planning and working with the 1,400 plus employees and that are staffed within the building, we are also spending it, right? We're managing, we're doing the administrative carryout of those functions. So on one side of our duties, we are passing the direction, the budget, and the plans for the year, and on the other hand, we are responsible for the management and implementation. Now that takes somebody who's a team builder, somebody who's a collaborator, somebody who's going to listen, somebody who's going to go out and put their boots on the ground and meet the people on their turf. That's what I'm prepared to do.
Okay, great. Steve, you'll start. Weber County is quite diverse, and all diversity is not represented on the council. What ideas or suggestions do you have to be sure that all different types of citizens are represented?
This is a great question. As I come forward and take the risk to run for county commissioner, I ask myself, and I'm asked often, why? And it's to bring a balance. It's to bring a balance to our local government. It's bringing a balance to the decision making. It's bringing a balance by listening. And the best way to represent underserved population in our community, or those that feel like they're underrepresented, is by going out and meeting them on their turf. Some people are old-fashioned like me. They want to pick up the phone and have a conversation. Other people want to use Snapchat or TikTok or email or good old-fashioned newspaper, right? And so it's how we reach out into those different communities. How do we reach out into those different circles and bring them forward? Now, as I've been out on the campaign trail, there's a lot of question in regards to transparency. And when I go look for information, I can typically find it, and it's there, but it's sometimes hard to find. And so I think part of being transparent is by reaching out, by not waiting for people to come to us, by being proactive, by seeking and listening and finding those commonalities and solutions.
Thank you.
For me, it's a lot what Steve said. For me, going out, meeting people, figuring out how to connect with people, because as you can see, most events like this don't garner a lot of attention, but it's getting the word out about these events, sharing them wherever we can, and then again, meeting people in person and talking with people and doing what it takes to make sure that we're not just doing what looks good on paper, we're doing what looks good for our community. And we can't know what's good for our community without actually asking them. And that doesn't mean holding a meeting and if no one shows up, we go through with something that we know we're gonna screw over a bunch of people. It means getting out and doing the job ourselves and not making the people do the job, because most people don't realize what goes on behind their lives. And unless we take a proactive step to talk to people, explain what's going on in the background of their lives, no one has any idea. Everyone thinks this election is all about the president, and no one realizes that it's way further from that than they could ever imagine.
Thank you. Jim is now here. Yes. I already explained you were giving out an award. I'm going to give him his 2 minutes just to introduce himself. He's late because he's got an important thing to do, so we're not going to ding him for that. So you have 2 minutes just to talk a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself, Jim. Where you have my microphone lesson. You have to eat the microphone.
Okay. Thank you. Jim Harvey. Hi, guys. Kathy, Angela. I'm from here. I grew up here, was educated here, went to school here. I built a career here. I think that's afforded me an in-depth understanding about here, where we are in Weber County. I've learned that from great teachers here and people here, and it's been a pleasure. I want to start by thanking so many that have shown me so much support and kindness over through this process. The personal calls, the emails, the text messages, they're much appreciated. I want to thank the over 500 people who've requested yard signs and have allowed me to put larger signs on private property. I appreciate those who have come through with endorsements and shared my social media posts. I'm the only candidate from here. And I think that's valuable for those here. Of the candidates you consider, my hope is that you'll recognize my tenure and positive experience and how it's benefited the county as a whole. This applies to the government budgeting process, and how it translates and understanding to the residents and the county employees. It's with pride and I'm honored that I'm endorsed and supported by my neighbors and many of you in many of the communities. I'm the only candidate choice with both private and government experience, and that experience has earned me many appointments in state, regional, and district boards. Thank you.
Okay. We'll go back to you. Steve, did you start the last one? We'll start with Steve. Just let's do it. What are or will be your plans to help young families or couples become homeowners in Weber County?
And you're starting with me, correct?
Yes.
All right, perfect.
There's a lot that we can do here in Weber County when it comes to housing, affordability, and attainability. Our legislature has been already initiated action with our governor. They were going for $150 million. That got approved with $50 million for first-time home buyers. However, it fell short because the first-time home buyer opportunity is only afforded to that of new development. There is a lot of good homes and good structures here in Weber County that should also qualify for those same options and affordability, so that way that helps our young families meet those needs. However, we're stuck in a spot where we're continuing to build a lot of high density and apartments, and that doesn't necessarily fit the bill for everybody. It fills the gap for some, but doesn't add and give the opportunities to build equity and long-term generational wealth. So I'm going to take some notes from what Ogden City has done here recently. The council and the mayors approve some things that encourages home ownership and single-family homes to be built. Thank you.
So for me, I'm gonna veer off a little bit from the first-time home buyers program because I don't like taking taxpayer money. But I agree with the need for high-density housing as we have an overpopulation in this entire state, and this is not a county-wide thing. I moved to Weber County because it was the last place I could afford, and I can't currently afford my house if I were to buy it today. So for me, working to make sure that high-density housing is placed in places where it should, can go without disrupting the rest of the economy, the travelways, everything else, and stopping the ability for houses to just skyrocket. My own the first year I owned it, and that was a 33% increase. So we need to find a balance between the two. I love being a homeowner, and I wish for everybody that they can attain what I was able to. And we need to make sure that we can do that the responsible way.
Okay, Jim?
Can I trouble you to ask,
Sure.
trouble you to ask the question again so that I make sure I answer that question?
Yes, if I can find it. What are or will be your future plans to help young families or couples become homeowners in Weber County?
Thank you. I think home ownership is critical. It's funny, but a study was recently done out of the governor's office that those who own homes, their net worth at retirement is $380,000. Well, those at retirement who don't own a home and who rent, their net worth is less than $10,000. That's a sad statistic. Henry Ford said you can't build a reputation on what you're going to do. Recently, we did our best to go to the cities of Plain City and Far West cities to try to get them to annex a piece of property, and it was sold by a farmer after nearly 18 months of begging them to take that, annex that in. We ended up putting a development out there, or allowing a development out there that will have detached single-family homes on their own lots where people can buy through the state. Financing has been approved through America First and the Bank of Utah with a 1% discount over whatever the normal rate is. Those homes will be sold between $330,000 and $380,000, which is a payment of about $2,000 to $2,200. That's what we've done, and that's going to allow people to get into their home for the first time out there. That's available to Weber County residents only, first responders, school teachers, hospital workers, all the people and people who work and live in Weber County.
Okay, thank you. What do you feel is the best way to seek input from the public? Right.
The best way to get input from the public is kind of a mixed bag. Some people don't want to tell you to your face what they think about you. As a restaurant manager, some people really like telling you to your face what they think about you. Other times it's online. I generally am going to be more honest online than if I'm upset or whatever, than not. And generally speaking, when it comes to talking with someone about what we can improve on, it's not because they're so excited that we're improving on this that they just want to give us a couple more suggestions. It's here's why I hate you. So for me, I love to hear what people have to say in person. I love to hear what people have to say online. I love to just find out what people think and know what's going on, and any way that I can find out what's going on inside everyone else's head makes it so that I can be a better representative for them in the future.
You're okay. I'll wait. No problem.
Okay,
Did you wait? 8 years ago, one of
In a discussion exactly like this, in fact, it was the League of Women Voters that was held up at the Alumni Center at Weber State. One of the things they talked about most was transparency, governmental transparency. I knew from the Standard Examiner reporter that they were asking for documents, or grandma requesting documents like crazy out of Weber County. I want you to know, since that time and since I've been here, I've had the opportunity to have some change. We now, all of our meetings at Weber County are not just minutes that people can go in and read, but they're published online. We have a YouTube channel. We've hired a videographer that films all of our meetings, not just for our work sessions, but our commission meetings. They're all available to go back and see and watch, so you can hear the voice intonations, see the facial remarks, All those things are available by going to webercountyutah.gov, and then you go to the commission link and you can see those things now. I guess to summarize that, our requests for grandma are down more than 80%, which is a cost savings for the county as well. But mostly we don't have the request for grandma type things like we did before. So I'm really proud of that transparency. It seemed that doing the right things, even when people don't agree, has been really good. Thank you.
So, Jim has been fact-checked on the grant request. And we were all recently in a meeting. Grant requests, since he's been here, have gone from 200 to 1,400 per year in one department. Now, how do we fix that? And how do we reach out to the people? How do we get the right information? We can start, folks, by not holding a public meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning. These have to be held when people can actually attend them. How can we be even better during these meetings? When we hear something that is contentious, we don't shut down and change from a public meeting or from a hearing and use legalities to shut the voice down of the people. You can go back and look on YouTube, as my opponent has said, and seen how many times over the last year that meetings have been shut down and changed and people's voices have been quieted. We've got to stop doing that. We have to trust in our people. We have to listen to those that are electing us, those that we are putting us in a place to be a public servant, and we must stop thinking like career politicians. We've got to put the power back with the people. I'm going to meet you on your turf. I'm going to bring your initiatives, your concerns forward. I'm going to listen to you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with Jim this time. What are your feelings, or what is your opinion about incorporating Ogden Valley?
Neutral. It's not proper for a government official to take an approach that would be not right. So we've remained neutral on that. I don't need the entire time to do that. That's the right thing, the proper thing to do.
The issue of incorporation in the valley is a deep concern to the people in the valley. And although the current commissioner does not want to speak to it, the fact of the matter is the folks up in the upper valley feel underrepresented. They don't feel like they have a voice in the county. They feel like their money is being taxed and spent without their care or their concern or their input. I've got the unique position to be endorsed by those that are for incorporation in the valley. I've also got the unique opportunity of being endorsed by those against the incorporation. And it's really simple. If they incorporate, they want to work with Steve. I will listen, I will be there, I've attended all the meetings, they know who I am. If they don't incorporate, they want somebody who's going to give them representation and listen and show up for them and make sure that they are being good stewards and fiduciaries of their funding for their community. Thank you.
For me, obviously this should be, and I believe is up to the people to decide what happens with them. Now, incorporate or not, they're going to need a great deal of help from the county government, especially starting out. But if they don't incorporate, it shouldn't really be any different. The only reason that I feel that they would want to incorporate is because they're being ignored by county government. And a county government that cares about everyone shouldn't have to worry about that. Now, at the same time, it's nice to have your own city council and all that stuff. So I can see both sides of it, and I'm willing to support everyone regardless regardless of what they decide.
Okay, Steve. There are a number of empty buildings throughout Ogden, which adds to the look of plight for the county. What are your suggestions for those empty buildings? Oh.
I will use Brian's time if there's more on the clock.
Okay, go ahead. Do you remember the question? There are a number of empty buildings throughout Ogden, Weber County. Particularly, people see them mostly in Ogden. What kind of ideas do you have that could perhaps use some of those buildings and not have them remain empty?
This kind of came up on a topic on a Sunday meeting, and what do we do with our ground space of our buildings, and what do we do with our second, third, fourth story, and obviously second, third, fourth story, we look to turn that into livable quarters for people. We have, you know, the old Wells Fargo buildings empty. We've got the Amazon building empty. We've got several buildings throughout. The old Stephen Henniger's empty. Now, the Stephen Henniger's a great building that we could potentially repurpose, and it's being discussed at the WACOG meetings right now as something for an overload during our winter overflow for our homeless population. When it comes to, you know, oh, hi guys. When it comes to the rest of the county and how do we look at the buildings, we have to take them on a case-by-case basis. Just as I did as president of Historic 25th Street Association when we had more vacancies than occupancies, we identify the building, we identify the character, we identify the right business and or entity to fill that space. But that's really, we've got to work with our 15 mayors, our city councils, as well as our 7 towns and open areas to decide what they need in their communities.
So while the vast majority of these buildings are privately owned, there's not a lot that the county commissioners can do. They can have conversations and they can have great ideas. I have great ideas. Is this, okay, there we go. I have a lot of ideas. I would love to do more for the homeless, but no one wants to give their property away for free just to have, you know, drugs and needles and things like that found outside. So on top of that, just today I spoke with business professionals who are looking to rent in Ogden and they can't find anywhere to rent. And so maybe it's just a conversation with someone about a lost and forgotten property that they're still paying taxes on, to say, let's get this renovated and let's do something about it. Let's make you guys some money, let's make the county some money, and let's solve some problems. I never take all my time, sorry.
Okay, thank you. You know, I want to tell you that I've had the privilege of working for the county for more than 30 years. 24 years I spent at the Golden Spike Event Center. In that time, especially recently, we've come up with 2 through the economic development, what are called CRAs and REAs, which are funding opportunities to take and redevelop those areas and take the existing value and plan out new value. So the question was, directly to answer the question, how can the county help? What we do is we participate with Ogden City together and come up with those redevelopment districts so that they can be positive things on the tax rolls
for not just Ogden City, but Weber County. Those things usually, when those are happening, there's some funding on those things, but they go towards infrastructure. They go towards water, they go towards sewer, they go to the underground, which could potentially benefit other residents in the area, but paid for then by the developer. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start with Brian. What tax dollars does the commission actually manage?
That would be, as far as I understand, everything not including the, well, not sales tax. As far as property tax is concerned, everything that's not included in the school budget. Is there more to that? Was there more to that question?
No.
Okay. So yeah, it's your property taxes minus the budget for the school district.
Okay. Jim? Oh, wait.
With all respect, madam, I'll wait for the timer, just to
No,
give
that's
fairness
fine.
to all three of us.
Somebody ever watch? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So
There are several things. Everybody, home ownership, if you receive a tax notice, there are usually anywhere between, depending on which city or where you live, anywhere between 14 and 19 different line items on your tax notice. The county is statutorily responsible to collect those funds for all those districts. So we collect the money for the Ogden School District, the Weber School District. We don't take anything off the top. That's money that's collected and then goes right out to those districts. Water district, sewer district, mosquito abatement districts, all their paramedic funds, 911. The county receives approximately $88 million that they control, of which most of it goes towards public safety. And then that's how that's divided out and controlled by the county, are those funds. And so you can get, if you go to the treasurer's office, again, webercountyutah.gov, there are some videos there that will more completely help you understand those things, how the county does that. And I can tell you the people in the treasurer's office do a wonderful job. We have a wonderful team going right now. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
What tax money does the commission actually manage?
Excellent. What tax money does the commission actually manage? Well, property tax. We manage property tax. I don't think I need to go too in depth in that. But here recently, there was some fact checking done, and there's not just one line item that comes from the county. There is approximately 8 line items that come from the county, and those are taxes that are managed by the commissioners. One of those that I am a big fan of, and most of you are probably fans of as well, is ramp tax. That's another tax. I'm clapping with you. I'm clapping in my heart. I love ramp tax and everything that it does for our community, and that is one of the taxes that is it is fundamental to what we see in our parks and throughout our county. How our riverways, our walking paths, our trails. There are so many things that are impacted by the taxes that the county collect. And so in addition to commercial property tax, right? So there's lots of pools of taxes, and it's our job to make sure that we are being smart fiduciaries of your money. We are prioritizing the funding, and that's why I have been endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, the Weber County firefighters, as well as the Ogden firefighters. Thank you.
Good job using the time. Then we're on it. Okay, Jim, you started the last time, right?
I did, yes, sir.
Okay, Steve, what is your experience with planning and managing a budget?
Thank you. This is we've had this question several times throughout the campaign now. I think this is our 5th or 6th event. I've attended every one of them. And planning and managing budgets. I've had the fortune in my life to be a business owner. I've been a small business owner. I've had a business of over 40 employees in Southern California when I got out of the Marine Corps. But the budget was managed on a case-by-case project basis, and in addition to the project management style of budget, I've also conducted zero-based budgeting for my business out of Austria. I had a production company out of Austria. It was a lot of financing, a lot of planning, a lot of budgeting that occurred. I don't have experience with the budgets for government, other than staying up late at night, trying to read them, trying to understand exactly how they're pulling from this fund to this fund to that fund, and trying to follow the money. So what I can tell you is I'll put in the work to study the budgets. When I don't know, I will ask questions, I will learn, but I already have an extensive amount of experience in budgeting. Thank you.
As far as planning budgets, I do not have a lot of experience. I have a lot of experience being told how much money needs to be made and how much money needs to be spent, and making sure that that happens. Now, everybody already knows my stance on taxes, so I don't want to increase the money made unnecessarily. What I want to do is figure out ways to help the money being spent. My experience in this, I personally get a daily audit from my current business. I get audited daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly, and I'm responsible for explaining any variance in my budget every single day. And this is something that I'm willing to take to the county level to figure out exactly why any dollar is wasted, any money that doesn't need to be taken in is being taken in, and figure out how to take care of everybody the most budget-friendly way possible.
Thank you. 40 years ago,
I started for a company called Morris Travel. Many of you will know that company today as Southwest Airlines, as we sold our routes. While I was there, I started doing the groundwork and ended up being a manager in Ogden, where we grew our business from $30 million to over $48 million. It was then that I went to Weber County as the Golden Spike Event Center, where our budget was over $1 million, and we had about 138 employees there. I did that for 24 years, and each year had an opportunity to sit in front of the commission and go through the government process of doing budgets. Since being a commissioner now, there are 23 budget hearings in our county. We have 23 different budget hearings to go through. I've sat through that now 8 times. It's been a wonderful learning experience. Again, those budget hearings are all published online. It's a very clear, easy path to follow where those goes, or those discussions they're open. And unless it's the character and competence of an individual, or having to do with real estate, or having to do with a lawyer type of a thing, those meetings are all open and easy to see at any time of the day or night. So anybody that wants to get in and take a look at those, I invite you to have that same learning experience that we have had. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start with Brian. Being a Roy resident, our city, like many others, smaller cities in our county, have had to cut our budgets. We need sales tax revenue. How can you, as the Weber County Commission, help these cities bring in business?
To be 100% honest with you, I am not at all prepared for that. I would say that kind of needs to be something looked at from a lot of different views. As a business manager in Riverdale, I'm suffering from that as well, and I'm trying to figure out the answer. I think a lot of the answer to that has to do a lot more with the federal government and the way the interest rates have hiked up, inflation is hiked up, and unfortunately a lot of that is controlled by the federal government and not at the county level. And we're seeing, even if it's not declared a recession anymore, we're still seeing a decline in spending because people don't have the money to spend at the moment. And that's about all I got.
Cities share in the sales tax of their city with the state of Utah. Terry, since you asked that question, I want you to know that I'm really, really honored to be endorsed by your mayor, Bob Dandoy, out here, and many of the members of the city council. They're all personal friends of mine. Bob and I sit on what's called the WFRC, which is the planning portion of roads. UDOT constructs the roads. The WFRC actually plans the roads. Bob and I both sit on the executive committee there. You don't get that that takes years and years to get an appointment there. You are seeing the fruits of that now with the reconstruct of 5600. That was a huge, huge lift. It's not just the new freeway interchange that will go out there in the Sunset area, but that whole new intersection having to do with Hill Air Force Base Museum and moving the wire at the gate for Northrop Grumman, one of our biggest employers. It's through those types of actions that retail will come in because there'll be more rooftops generated, more people living there. We've also worked together on what's called the Three-Gate Trail. I'd hope that people would research that. That's the old train line that goes from Hill Air Force Base into Ogden. There's so many great things happening for Roy, and those things will help bring businesses here, which will start sales tax, which will generate it for Roy.
In order for us to
To take a look at this question, it has to be a holistic approach. We cannot, there's no silver bullet, and government is not the answer to every problem. But what we can do is we can create and maintain clear policy. Clear policy, if you create a target, the private sector will hit that target. But it costs significantly when it takes the county 2.5 years to approve permits for somebody's business. That's unacceptable. This costing people time, and it's costing people real money, and by that, it costs wages and it costs jobs. So rather than having that business ramping up and employing people, they're still trying to get their permit through Weber County. Now, what can we do as a county? We can work with our 15 cities, our 15 mayors, our city councils, and our 7 towns to come together and have a vision. What is the vision for Weber County? What can we work together so that way we're not trying to take the car dealership from Riverdale to Ogden and from Ogden to South Ogden, and we're all working together. We need a vision. We need a vision that is focused on a local economy, an economy that supports our young people and gives them the earning wage that they can own a home.
Sorry. Okay. I'm trying out how to say this properly. A lot of laws and rules and regulations are passed at the legislature. It comes down and affects our cities. What kind of communication will you be able to do, or what do you think we need to do with the legislature to be sure they understand what they're passing will affect some of our cities?
Sorry, thank you. I think that's one of the things of the candidates that you have to choose from here is that I have the relationships with all 3 of the current senators. I have relationships with all of the existing representatives, but close relationships. When I call them, they call back. These are relationships that have taken, in some cases, they've been decades in the making. But I've got great relationships. We're able to speak to them directly on how that impacts us and whether it's positive or negative. We have their ear, and you're right about that, Ms. McCullough, that those, they do impact us a great deal, some of them do, and so most of those regulations are going to the cities, which the county doesn't have a lot of say or responsibility for, but some of them do affect counties, and other affect school districts and other districts. But the one thing I could tell you, what can I do, is I have those relationships built. I'm endorsed and supported by those people because they love the job that they've seen up here in Weber County. They love the forward progress that we've made, and most of them are very, very happy with what's happening. Thank you.
So when the current commissioner ran in 2020, he enjoyed endorsements from 13 mayors. He doesn't enjoy that currently. I'm endorsed by Mayor Beasley of Plain City, as well as Mayor Fippen of Far West, and they're under pressure, you guys. They're under pressure from our legislative body. Our legislative body is a supermajority. A supermajority that passes through the county level. There is not a balance. We don't have a voice. We don't have a representation that is out there fighting for our working families. Our cities and our mayors, they want teamwork with the Planning Commission. They don't want to feel like they're under the Planning Commission. They don't want to feel like they're under the thumb of everybody. They want to feel like they have partners to work with that are part of the commission. Now, what would I do to help our cities and work with our mayors and our council is I would work with them in defending what their needs are. So if the legislature sends down a mandate without money, then we send it back and say, no, thank you. Go and hash your teeth on this and send this mandate back with some funding. Because when those fundings comes through to our cities and they have to check the boxes, it increases the cost of creating homes. One of the biggest costs in a production of a home is the cost of government.
Well, there's some things that the commissioner can do, but when it comes to the state, the commissioner doesn't have a vote. When it comes to, any laws that are passed, any mandates, anything like that, the commissioners don't really get a vote. Like Steve said, you can send it back if they don't fund it. I would say that there needs to be more transparency in every bill that's written, every bill that's passed, because what people I think are most worried about is not what's going on behind their backs, but what are they voting for that they don't even know they're voting for. The Patriot Act 2 just passed a couple of years ago. Most people didn't even realize that, or last year. So there needs to be someone standing out there to say, this is what's actually being voted on today. These are all the issues that are hidden, and in my opinion, the government needs to be way more transparent than it is, so that everyone knows what is actually the effect that the government has on their life. Because right now, they just don't know.
Okay, we're going to go for the really contentious one. What are your feelings on the inland port project that is being, I don't know if it's tabled or not yet, but that is being proposed? Yes, Steve, that's right.
The inland port may have some merits. However, the inland port has been brought forward without enough citizen input. I have enjoyed the endorsement from rail, from electricians, from labor, and a lot of these entities and these groups haven't been part of the discussion. How can they not be part of the discussion? Large landowners out in western Weber, they have been part of the discussion. What about all the other small landowners around them? I've attended every meeting for the inland port. I've been to the listening session for the county. I've been out in West Weber with the citizens at Reese Park. I've been endorsed by the Davis brothers, all of the Davis brothers who are farmers out in Western Weber, because they understand and they see and they feel the same thing that the folks up in the valley are feeling, that they've not been heard, that they don't have a voice, that they don't have representation. And so the next area of incorporation just might be Western Weber. They're pretty frustrated right now, folks. And they're frustrated because no one on our commission is listening to them as a commissioner, but in those areas, they're not even being listened to as their city council and the mayor of those unincorporated areas.
For me, this is an extremely frustrating issue because I can't figure out what's going on with it. There's no information easily accessible online that says exactly what's going on. There's ecological issues that need to be taken care of. No one's talking about them. All there is that you can find out is contention and arguing with no one even knowing what exactly they're arguing about most of the time. For me, we need to take care of the ecology. We need to make sure that our water is making it to the Great Salt Lake. Because if the Great Salt Lake dries up, our air becomes poison. At the same time, we need to make sure that any new developments are being built responsibly so that we're not just tearing up and rebuilding every 5 years. And other than that, there's just being out of the know and working 50 to 60 hours a week. There's just no information. They're not telling us what's going on enough so that anyone can make an educated opinion about this.
Thank you. First off, I want to say that I care very much about the Great Salt Lake and the migratory habitat. That's the preeminent thing that's we have support from that. Increasing the existing leverage of the rail traffic on the existing mainline spur out there is critical, so we can take trucks off the road that are out there. That will help with air quality. Those are all things that we've been looking for. I'm also interested in carbon credits. Those are federally controlled. One of the things we've done through code amendments, and I like the Inland Port for this reason. One of the things that Inland Port brings up, there's a lot of kiosks around the state. What makes Weber County different is that we've become a micro hub or a renewable energy hub out there. So everything that we do out there has to do with getting carbon credits. We've enlisted companies, local companies like Q-Energy, which takes methane harvesting and actually helps mitigate taxes. We've also worked with water suppliers and everything else. We're doing things. I want to not. 3 years ago, Western Weber County had a choice to go out on their own. That failed miserably by double digits. So the people are out there being represented, they're being heard, and they supported the way they were governed at the time.
Okay, we're running out of time, so this is a one-word answer. If I gave you a whole bunch of money, what would be the first thing you would change or put that money towards in Weber County? Brian?
I'd give it all back. I don't want to take a bunch of money from anybody.
Just a one-word answer, kind of.
I'd give it to public safety. I spent 2 hours with them last night, and I'd give it all to public safety. The line level deputies are bleeding, and as opposed to some of the others, that's where I would put it.
To clarify, you're giving me the money, not the county?
No, I'm giving it to you to spend in the county.
Then I'm giving it to the kids.
Okay.
You're giving me money, not the county.
That you can spend in the county.
However I want.
Okay.
I'm spending it on the children.
Okay. All right, I appreciate your answers. I didn't tell you, but this is being live streamed on Facebook, and if my brains work right enough, it will be on our YouTube channel. Both of those two are the Weber County League of Women Voters. Just go in and click on the videos and you'll see them. We'll go ahead and give them 2 minutes to wrap up, and then you can stop and ask them some questions. Who started that? Brian? Jen? 2 minutes to wrap up.
Let me start by first giving a warm thank you to the League of Women Voters. Your work is awesome. It was within a year ago that my daughter-in-law's here from Brazil, who took the oath of allegiance. And the League of Women Voters helped in that a lot. And I want you to know, as a person personally, how much I appreciated that and the positive that's done for our family. I'm proud of you, Denise, for you choosing to make that path. I've spent my whole life here creating and developing relationships of trust with a lot of people. My message to you is that I've worked hard and effectively for you, focusing on a job that you had me do 8 years ago, and we're in a better place, especially financially, as we're now in the top 2% financially in all the country. But most of all, I want to thank my family. I'm grateful for those of you who come tonight and those of you who are home taking care of the little ones. Your support's been awesome for me. Of the candidates you consider, it's my hope that you'll recognize that my positive experience for how it's benefited the county as a whole has worked out better for you, especially under the circumstances. If you're looking for something more detailed, I invite you to go to my website.
The library won't close. That was you done, man.
Including my participation on the library board, which has also enjoyed more than double-digit income every year. You can fact check that all you want. So I'd encourage you to go to my votejimharvey.com. Sorry. Is there more in another language? I don't think so. Votejimharvey.com for more information. Thank you.
Steve?
I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters. And as I started off, again, I'd like to thank Jim and running this race with him and learning about him. And again, knowing that he's a fellow motocrosser, I appreciate that. And for my opponent, Brian. As I said, Brian has attended every one of these events with me this season, and he's a hard worker. And if you can't come around to vote for a Democrat, then I'm going to ask you to vote for Brian. Now, I have had the time of my life, and I want to thank you all. This may be, our last event that we're together for the campaign season, but I promise you that I'm going to continue to stand up and step up and voice forward our concerns of the citizen. And for these little ones, everything I'm doing for you. Now, I could talk all night, guys, and ask you and give you reasons to vote for me. And I guess what I'd ask you to do is jump, if you're on social, jump on the Facebook page and read about me and see that, Jan Zogmeister has endorsed me, and the firefighters have endorsed me, and the working families have endorsed me, and look at our financials and weigh that out and see if that's important to you and how that impacts your decision. I'm going to wrap up by thanking my wife and my daughters who couldn't be here tonight because they're over at the Ogden High game and cheering on my daughter who's dancing at halftime. So thank you for the opportunity. Please visit me online at steveforweber.com. Thank you.
As much as I want to follow their suit and thank you guys for inviting me, I hate this. I have terrible social anxiety. I hate being up in public. But I have a great love for the common man. I am myself a common man. nothing handed to me. I've worked hard for everything, and I feel that I've gained a lot from this community. And I feel that I have a lot to give this community. And so that is why I would ask for your vote for Weber County Commissioner, is to allow me to stand up for everybody in this county, to defend you and to give back what I've been given from this community. My website is rowleyforweber.com. For most people think my name's pronounced Rowley, so it's R-O-W-L-E-Y for Weber.com, F-O-R. And I would invite you to go onto my website, take a look at what I have to say. Some of my ideas are radically different from both of these gentlemen sitting next to me. But everything that I think, everything I believe is not for me. One thing most people don't know is, according to the VA, I'm 70% disabled, so I don't pay property taxes. So I'm doing this not for myself. I'm doing this for everybody else.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate all three of these people are extremely responsive. I don't have to chase them or do anything crazy to get them to participate, so that's awesome. I appreciate you coming and the questions that you asked. Please take a look at Weber County League of Women Voters, Facebook and YouTube. Thank you. Have a good night.